All right.
Boo, 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 boo.
There you go. Well, hey, y'all, and welcome to the Everyday Truths podcast. My name is Sherri. I am the creator of Everyday Truths. This is my very good friend, John Pyle, who I'm so grateful is here today.
Yay.
He's the associate pastor at City Church San Antonio and is awesome, has a cool podcast called Better on the Inside about, what is it, not losing your soul in the digital age?
That's right.
Did I get it all right?
You did great.
I didn't even
Wow.
do my podcast tagline,
Yeah.
just making faith real and relevant so we can live it out in our everyday lives. That's where Everyday Truths comes from.
Boom.
And so today we are talking about, of course, I know what we're talking about, and it just fell completely out of my head.
That's okay.
We're talking about when we know that we recorded another episode together that was like, hey, what if I'm not hearing from God? And I want to flip it because I had another question come in that was like, I think I know what God's calling me to do.
The other side of the coin.
But I don't want to do it, or I'm afraid to do it, or I don't know where to start.
Or it doesn't make sense.
Or it doesn't make sense to me right now. Yeah. And so, and what we do in these tabletop style episodes is we have a 15-minute timer. And so we'll flip the timer and we'll talk about
the sand. Flip the sand.
What's that from? You said
it's not from anything. I'm maybe like trying to create a moment for you.
I like that.
Like that would be a cool, like, the people watching at home or listening at home where it's time to go and they're like, flip the sand, flip the sand. Yeah.
I need you to say it 3 times in a row so then I can use it over another clip. There you go. So 3 times in a row. Go for it.
Flip the sand, flip the sand, flip the sand.
Nailed it. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. We'll see. I can edit it. Clip it. Just clip it right
Just
there.
clip it.
And so as we get started, I always love to play a game or to do something fun just so that folks can get to know, the guest or just because it's fun. Because I'm just a youth pastor still at heart.
Shy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty shy.
Just
it's hard to get an idea of my personality.
Guy. Yeah. It's so
shy.
What did it say? So demure. And so this one, do you have a favorite joke? Do you have like a go-to joke that you tell?
Not that is not offensive, maybe. I do have the I shared it earlier. I turned it into a knock-knock joke, but we got to decide if it's offensive. I don't know how sensitive.
I don't remember what it was.
What's Irish and stays out all night? Patio furniture.
See?
Patio furniture.
Patio furniture.
Patio furniture.
That's a great joke.
My apologies to our Irish brethren.
Yeah, no, that's you can make fun of the Irish. They're pretty. I feel
like they're kind of my people.
They're kind of they're laid back.
Although it's mostly English on this side, so maybe that's even worse.
There you go. I don't know.
Man.
I don't know what's better and worst. No, it's a great joke.
For all of your listeners in Ireland.
No, I'll try my best to tell a joke that offends someone too. Just kidding. Hey, that's a good one. Patio furniture.
All of our warm-ups have included a racial component.
Oh my goodness. That's what we're here for. Welcome. Okay, I'll tell you my go-to joke. And we were just joking in the last episode. It's whenever you have a podcast episode, it's like you want to, especially if you record like we do on video, if you don't happen to be watching on video, it's hard to get like a still shot. Look, my logo's crooked again.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's my table.
Who knows? I just want to make our OCD friends upset. It's just going to be crooked. We're just going to let it happen.
Definitely not you. Nothing to do with your desire for things to be straight.
We're just going to lean in and just like there.
That I kind of like it like that.
Remix. And so it's really hard to get like a still shot for like the cover photo.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell a joke and hopefully it makes you laugh and we'll use that as the cover photo.
I love
All right.
it.
So this is my go-to joke. I won't call them out, but one time I had a friend who was getting a difficult diagnosis, and for whatever reason, this is what came to mind, this joke. Okay, you ready? And so there was once a pirate. It's a good start.
It's already funny.
It's a fearsome pirate, and he takes on a new first mate. And every time they go into battle, the pirate, this captain, he looks at his first mate and he says, "Bring me my red shirt." Every time they go to battle, over and over and over again. So eventually the first mate, he gets the boldness to ask, like, "Sir, why do you always ask for your red shirt?" And he says, "So that if I'm wounded in battle, the men don't get like discouraged."
Right.
And so he wants to cover it up. And so this pattern continues, of course, over and over again until one day they look out on the horizon and there is an entire like armada of ships coming over just the horizon. And the first mate is like waiting for the command.
Yeah.
And the captain turns and he looks at him and he says, "Bring me my brown pants." Oh,
Wait, I don't get it.
We just needed to get the still shot, and so it's fine. We got the still shot, and so it's all good.
It's so good.
And so I was saying,
that's a very good joke.
I had a friend that had a difficult diagnosis, so for whatever reason, this is what popped in my head, and they looked at me like I was a moron, and I said, buddy, today is a brown pants kind of day.
Yeah, come on.
And let's not pretend like it isn't.
I love that's such a you joke because it has like a setup. It's got like a really nice setup that you can tailor for the moment.
Yeah.
And take as long as you want or short as you want.
Oh, because you're in it.
Yeah.
As soon as somebody's like,
that.
there was once a pirate, you're like, yes, tell me more.
You told me there's once a pirate. I'm like, we're going on a journey together.
It's like the man walks into a bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Says, ow. Okay,
yeah.
So.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, and so there you go. Just jokes to start your day.
You got it going.
Patio furniture and brown pants. So there you go. All right. Well, today's topic is I feel like I've heard God tell me to do something.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure. What does it look like? I'm afraid, whatever that looks like. And so let's do it. You're on the flip the timer side again. So
flip the sand. Flip the sand. Flip the sand.
Go for it. And every time I imagine Jasmine in it in Aladdin, no. Okay. Yeah. And so let's start here because maybe you're asking the question, did I hear from God?
Yeah.
And so what would you tell somebody if they're like, I think God's telling me to do something, but how do I know if it's him? Without the details. How do I know if it's him?
Yeah. Right. There's usually a reason you think it was God. Mm-hmm. It's pretty rare. There are some people who have religious mania kind of things going on where God told them to do to
have Taco Bell today, and maybe God wanted you to talk to somebody at Taco Bell, but
it's pretty rare. Mm-hmm. So there's usually a reason you think you heard from God about it. And so if I was sitting down with somebody, I would ask them, well, why did you identify it as something God said in the first place?
Yes,
I get thoughts all the time that are just random. Of just you talked about Jersey Mike's, and now I'm thinking about sandwiches, right?
Yes, I have a podcast recording routine where I always get Jersey Mike's, and so yeah.
We're on the timer, so I won't ask the question. But it's one of those things of why did you think it was God? Mm-hmm. And if you ask that question, there's usually some little pieces that can help you pull on the thread.
Yes.
Because all I'm trying to do is somebody talking to somebody like that. And so giving advice to somebody who I don't see, but is listening to this, I'm just trying to pull on the thread. I'm just going, why do you feel like this was God or what even made you put that in and then we start to go, okay, and then we can start to unpack what it is and why maybe you're skeptical
Absolutely.
about it.
And I think there's two critical things. First of all, you're asking the question, which is really good. Mm-hmm. There's a humility, there's a consideration. You're not just throwing the idea out and you're not just blindly walking into it. I don't mean walking into it in faith, but you're not just you're not being haphazard with something important like hearing from God.
Yeah.
And so both of those things are really important to give yourself credit for. Is if you're asking the question, that's a really, really good thing. And also you're highlighting just the importance of community and having the people around you that you can, one, you're comfortable going to them, and two, that you have people that will speak into your life in significant ways. Make sure you're asking the right people, because if you have a friend that is not on the same journey as you, especially if you're talking about maybe even leaving a lifestyle that they value, they may be like, no, don't do that. That's dumb. Or if they disagree with it. And so make sure you're careful who it is that you are talking to. Pray about that. And because they may be able to speak into it even more. Yeah. And so just wanted to start there. That's a good baseline.
Well, there's very few people that are more certain than people that are wrong. Wrong people are so certain. As that will just be what are you talking about? Why would you buy that stock?
Yeah.
Or what? Why are you even married anymore? Yeah. Being married sucks. And they've been divorced 7 times, are super unhappy, living a lifestyle they hate. And they're just get out of your marriage, bro.
Be unhappy over here with me.
Come be the old guy at the club with me that wears too much cologne.
Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I remember being young and being at a club and seeing someone's dad and being like, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah. This is
And then they ask you to dance. You're like, this is more uncomfortable.
And it's look, hey, if you're single and you're living your life, go out there to the club. That's not who we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're not talking about you. We're talking about the person that is insistent and is dead wrong about relationships. Right?
Oh yeah. They want to pull whatever that's taken out of relationships is they want to pull people into subconsciously or not, they want to pull people into whatever. But that's where when you find somebody that's just on fire for God, that they also want to pull you into it too. Exactly. And so that's what we do. We go to the known and things like that. And so, and you don't always bring the same things to the same people or different things to the same people. And so just have that discernment. Don't go to someone who you're like, they're for sure going to talk me into it or they're going to for sure talk me out of it. You need those kind of objective folks who know you and who are on the same, a similar journey as you. And so
understanding the people. The other thing that I would say in relation to this is a lot of time, it's the time thing that makes people anxious.
Okay.
Of going, God has asked me to do this. I feel like I'm not being obedient. I don't want to do it. I don't want to start, but they feel pressure because it's like there's a hourglass of sand going, well, if I don't do it within this, I think there's a, whether you know it or not, an unspoken understanding or expectation of if I don't do it in the right amount of time, God is going to take it away.
Yes.
Or if I don't do it in the right amount of time, it's not going to be this anymore, or God's going to punish me or whatever that is. And a lot of times, part of it is taking the stress off of it's pretty rare that God gives you something that has a time frame attached to it.
Yeah.
When it's a big decision, there are certain things where it's like, oh, well, we got to sell the house because are we moving in December?
Yes.
Right. Like that, it could be.
We're in that situation right now. Yeah.
Right. Where it's like a thing comes up and it's like, okay, there are things with timelines attached and that can be kind of stressful. Sometimes it's not, I would say most times, maybe that's an overstatement, but most times I don't know that there's a specific time frame.
I would draw, and I'll just give the other side. I'm not it's because it's both and, because we see times where it's like, we see the immediacy when Jesus says, hey, come and follow me. And somebody's like, hey, well, I need to go and take care of this thing. And he's like, hey, what is it like?
Yeah.
This is foxes have no dens, or it's dens have the fire or whatever.
But Son of Man has no place to lay his head.
Yes. And so we do see some immediacy. Yeah. We see when the angel goes to Mary, and then it says she immediately went to.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
To Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And so we see that. But go ahead.
Well, but I'm thinking maybe there's a way to evaluate it of, is this time sensitive or is this not?
Yeah.
Right. And so part of obedience is, I was thinking of it more as like a big purpose driven of like, do I quit my job?
Okay.
Right. And so, but I think,
definitely get advice on those
but
things.
I think this is a really good framework of going, when do you have to listen? Meaning if God has told you to do something, what does obedience look like?
Yeah.
That's probably a better question.
Because there's the moment of like, if God's like, hey, go talk to that person, or let's make it, hey, hand the $5 to the homeless guy.
Yep.
It's not like I'm going to go home and pray about that, and I'm going to talk to 5 of my friends about it.
Right.
And some of that is just as you grow near to God, it's like, and you learn to recognize his voice, and just like any relationship where once you are in relationship with someone, you might know how they're going to respond to something. Like that's one of those, like, I don't need to hear the big voice of God sometimes when it's something small and simple that we know is honoring and that we're called to. Yeah. But to the big things, you gave an example, so I'll give it you said like, I'm going to, it's like leaving your job. So John and I worked together for almost 13 years. Yep. And in that time, when it was time for me to step away to start this ministry, and I actually didn't have a clear picture. I actually didn't know it would turn into this. Yeah. I didn't want to start a podcast, but that's another topic. But I talk about that too much. Everybody's like, then Sherri, stop talking about how you didn't want to start a podcast. But I was actually really careful who I talked to. Like it really caught a lot of people off guard because I didn't want to talk to folks who had skin in the game, who I knew were going to, like, I already knew what they were going to say. Because I think I had voices that I knew would absolutely say, it's time to go. And others that would say, no, like you can't go. Yeah. And so it was like me, Jesus, and my husband, and then in a couple of trusted voices who I knew I could trust to give more objective and ask good questions and who didn't necessarily have skin in the game. Right. And I think in some instances you kind of need that. And in other instances, you definitely need people with the skin in the game. And so you just really have, it's like in which of these instances am I going to have people around me who are going to help me discern what God is saying and not what it is that they're saying and not what it is that they would prefer. Right. Because aren't we already trying to get out of the trap of what I prefer?
Right. Right.
And so let's,
or even, it's somebody that has a preference, but asking, hey, can we talk about this in a little bit, like a way that I don't want you, help me talk through this without like, I don't know, your opinion. I don't know.
No, this is good though. Yeah. But discernment, I think, is probably the key word. So whether you're asking this obedience question about something big or something small, there has to be a process of discernment where, if I'm turning left at a red light and, there's the flashing yellow, right? There's a process of discernment of going, okay, I got to know when to turn. And if I'm going to turn, I got to go.
And great example, because have you ever had somebody sitting passenger and they're like, you're good. And you're like,
no,
I have to make this decision. I have to make this decision. I can't make it blindly on you. Especially we have a turnout of our neighborhood where you'll often get blocked and you can't see. And there, maybe your passenger can. You're like, you don't understand. I need to see this because I need to. This is my. I am literally in the driver's seat. I need to be able to make this decision. And then, of course, Jesus take the wheel. But it's Carrie Underwood. But yeah.
But that's not a decision you have to pray about. You have to seek counseling. You have to do that. That's like a more immediate thing. And so part of what, as people are wrestling with this, which is 100% a thing, everybody wrestles with at some point. Part of it is the discernment of what kind of decision is it?
Yes.
Are you making a left, is it an immediate obedience decision, right?
Yes.
And in Jesus's case, right, you talked about Jesus telling the guy, hey, you got to go now. You don't have time to bury your dad.
Yeah.
You got to, there are many interpretations of that story.
Important context that we're not going to get into.
Yeah, you don't got time to bury your dad. Then there are other people that he took time with.
Yes.
There are other people where it's like they had to warm up to following him. And it was part of it. And so there are some decisions that it's like obedience means acting immediately.
Yes.
Obedience means doing the thing. I don't think you sin necessarily. There are some examples of this, but most often, most believers know what is sin and what is not. Most believers know what is violating.
If you're asking the question, it's probably yes.
And so I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just like, should I hit this person with my car? No. The answer is always no, because the answer is in Scripture. Because no answer, and this is an important thing when we talk about discernment, no answer is going to ask you to do something opposite of what Jesus has already said.
Because I was going to say, that's so vital. It's like if that litmus test, if it's going against, like, I think I should leave my family and go be a missionary in Africa. It's one thing if you mean like your parents' household, but no, you have a call to steward and be there with your family. Like that's not going to be the case. And it's not going to be harming someone, not like hurting feelings, because sometimes you do. Like you got to do the breakup, you got to do the thing, but it's anyway.
But it's all it could go with, you know what? God really wants me to start something, so I'm going to take this $50,000 from work that nobody's going to miss. That because I'm an accountant and I know what to do with it. Well, that already violates a thing. He's not going to have you do the right thing the wrong way.
That's really good.
He's not going to have you do the right thing the wrong way. He's just not going to do that. Absolutely. And so if you're evaluating being obedient, one way you can tell if it's from God is if it aligns with God's words.
Absolutely.
Because if it doesn't align with God's words, it's not from God.
Yeah.
And this comes up most often in a ministry context, in relationship of, I feel like I found my soulmate. I'm going to leave who I'm with now to go with this person. It's like, no, you just don't want to do the work to repair your marriage.
Yeah.
You just want an easy out. You just want to chase a new thing. And so I'll make sure it aligns with God's word as it is right now.
Yes.
Just make sure that it aligns with that, whether it's a quick decision or a longer decision. And so you've got these quick decisions of like being obedient in the moment. And I was talking about the sin piece. Being obedient in the moment, pray for this person at this restaurant. God might give you a prompting. If you don't do that, God's not going to punish you for it, but you've missed out on a blessing. You've missed out blessing another person and receiving a kind of blessing. And it's just, you just don't receive that. Those are the kind of quick decisions of when you're trying to hear from God, like, hey, do that. But a lot of what I think people wrestle with are these longer decisions that maybe are not time bound, or maybe they are time bound, and it's okay if they are time bound. But I think what I'm trying to get at is that the pressure of time sometimes pushes us to make decisions that we wouldn't otherwise make. Because we have to make it quickly. And the time thing just feels too overwhelming because we're finite creatures that only have so much time on this earth. And so we go, ugh! And that sometimes that pressure is not necessarily beneficial or helpful for most people.
Absolutely. And so I think that's a great first question is this something that's time sensitive?
Or is this something that is take a moment, is lean in, is all of those things? And I will say there are things that it's like, go, and we maybe hesitate, but we can see throughout scripture where there's people with a lot of hesitation. You have Abraham who goes from his homeland and stops in Haran for way too long, even though God's already called him to a promised land. He makes it about halfway and he stops. But God still honors his side of this covenant. And it's difficult to see because we don't always have the big picture. But, and I know that was like, this was such an important part of it that I just hadn't thought about, is just having that discernment to decide the right thing and to really come along and pray and get counsel and go, okay, God, is this what I'm hearing? Yeah. And so instead of talking about how do I make the next step, let's talk about why it's important to take the next step.
Right.
And because we could get into like hey, you know what? Take the first baby step, take the next baby step. Like, let's just leave it as simple as this. But why is it important to take those steps? And I think that in that we need to talk about purpose.
Yeah, no, that's great because we don't always ask about the why with the decision. So sometimes we're thinking of just the decision itself and then the fallout from the decision or the consequences or the outcomes or whatever. But part of what you're illuminating, which is a great thing of like, being obedient brings something amazing to your life.
Yes.
It brings something really cool that...
It isn't always prosperity in a sense, but yes, it's a different kind. It's a different kind.
There are different kinds of blessings, and sometimes they're internal, but there's something about purpose, like a decision around purpose, a feeling of purpose. We're wired for that.
Yeah.
Right? Safety, belonging, and mattering. That's what every human being wants. Safety, belonging, mattering. And mattering is about purpose.
Yes.
And a lot of times these big decisions that people are trying to discern speaks to that purpose piece, of the mattering piece. I want to do something that matters. I want to do something that helps others, that impacts others' lives. And it might not be a direct A to B to that, but that mattering part is so huge when it comes to this.
And it's so important to listen to God in that, because sometimes we can look over and we can go, that thing matters, but it isn't what God has for us.
Right.
And then we need to be okay when the thing that God has for us seems small.
Yeah.
Because we can't see the big picture.
Yeah.
It is that conversation with somebody. It's just that seed that's planted or whatever that looks like. Something that it is a generational curse that you're breaking in the way that you raise your children, which you're going, I'm not a missionary in Africa. No, but you're setting up a legacy of something that God has that really you are in a position that only you can do.
Right.
And so I think that considering when it comes to steps of faith and when it comes to like, when you hear it, I'll say it like this way. When you believe that you're hearing from God and you're like, but I don't want to, but it seems too difficult, but I'm not sure, but I'm not whatever. It's maybe take it outside of the small step that's in front of you and take it to the unique purpose that God has for you. Yeah. I can't tell any of you what that is and what that looks like for you. But what I do know is that God has created you with a unique purpose, right? A U-shaped hole in the world that only you can fill, and you will never be satisfied until you find that and until you live that out. And so, like I said, I can't define that for you, but what I can say is that listening to the promptings that you believe that God is giving you is the quickest pathway to discovering that.
Right.
You don't have to have the perfect answers.
Right.
But when we hear God's voice, when we confirm that it's like, hey, is this the right thing? Even sometimes it's not going to make sense. Yeah. But when we confirm the right thing, that is the quickest path to our unique purpose, is taking that step of faith. And so I thought we were going to get really practical in this episode about like how to take a step of faith. But I think that talking about, hey, making sure that we are hearing from God, not from our gut and not from, our own discernment, because God made you real smart. He really did. Yeah. Put a good head on your shoulders. Like you have survived up to this point, adapting and figuring it out and doing what, even in destructive patterns, it's us figuring it out one step at a time. Yeah. So God's made you real smart, but we're not meant to rely on our version of smart. And so it is seeking Him and taking those tiny steps to ultimately our purpose. And so,
Yeah, I'm going overtime, so I'm sorry.
No, please. But we are a little bit.
A helpful thing of understanding my purpose piece when it comes to some of these decisions, if you've ever been following a GPS and it goes, turn on this random side street, and you're like, why? That doesn't make any sense. I'll stay on the main highway. And then you hit the traffic jam. Yeah. And you go, I get it now. But so this is mixing metaphors a little bit, but I started to realize I wanted purpose to be a GPS when purpose is a compass. purpose points in the direction that you need to go. It doesn't always give you every step.
Yeah.
And so
all you can do is the next.
It might just be like, I have to go west. Mm-hmm. And that can be an anchor point, right? The true north is the idea of like your purpose when you're making these decisions. If you have an idea of what it is your compass of going, I know that I have to go in this direction, but sometimes being obedient means taking some detours within that.
And I'm going to double complicate the metaphor, because sometimes I describe the Spirit as moving in our lives as not a roadmap, but like a GPS. Like it's like when you go off route, it's like recalculating and it gets you going. It's still the right direction, like what you're talking about. And so sometimes those steps of faith are a little bit like, I didn't know that this was the route there. I didn't know.
I'm going around a shopping center.
But there is a man, I have a funny story about driving to Waxahachie, and I swear the back roads it took me on, I could hear banjos. Like, I mean, I was just like, I was like, man, what is like, what in the backwoods? Okay, anyway, what in the Appalachia? Okay, so I heard whistles. Anyway, so there is something to those steps of faith, but understanding that you're being led in that direction, and it matters to listen.
Right.
And so,
And so you need both, right? You need the like compass.
I wasn't trying to contradict you. It's just like, no, they fit together so beautifully.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're kind of vibing on that of like, the detailed steps, like what you're struggling with might be turning left into a parking lot to cut through to save you 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's the work of the Holy Spirit, right? Yeah. Like leading you through that. And then there's also an anchoring that's pointing in a direction that's going, this is my purpose.
Yes.
And that's how you're evaluating these decisions.
And trusting that the steps that God's taking you on is the path towards your purpose.
Yeah.
And we don't always get to see what that is. But like I said, you will never be satisfied until you find that. And you live it out. And so today, if you feel like God's calling you to something, it's not going to go against Scripture. Like line it up, seek advice. And even sometimes if you're like confused, because you were talking about, say, like marriage.
Right.
But I would say there's always like if you're in like an abusive relationship and you're things like that, and you're going, but flat out, this says this, go talk to a trusted person, talk to, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a counselor, and so like dig into Scripture. And when you have questions about it, ask good questions. Find people who will give you good advice, good objective, who don't necessarily have the kind of skin in the game that are just going to try to pull you towards their opinions. And then when it comes to taking those steps, just understand that even though you may not see the whole path, it is leading you somewhere that perhaps you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And that's your purpose.
Yeah.
And so the short answer to what do I do if God's telling me to do something? I guess just do it one step at a time. Yeah, it's a terrible. We'll just do it. Yeah, the terrible counsel. We'll stop it.
But it's also just not complicated. You zoom in and there's all this nuance. You zoom in and there's all this nuance of going, oh, there's this decision and there's that, and the marriage thing is perfect. If you're in an abusive relationship, that's a reason not to be married anymore. And God is okay with that, right? Mm-hmm. And we know people that stay in relationships that they should not be in because like, well, God tells me to work it out. And it's like, in this case, no. But then there's the other guy that's just like, my secretary's hot and I want to leave my wife. And it's like, we get in the nuance.
Hard pass.
We get in the nuance.
Yeah.
But it's not complicated when you look at it from the big thing of it. It's do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
God's going to be okay one way or the other. You just might be missing his blessings.
Yeah. It's, and there's an Andy Stanleyism that's God doesn't need something from you. He wants something for you.
Come on.
And there is, of course, God's going, I need you to do this because I need you to go talk to this person or whatever. Need is the wrong word.
Yeah.
But if God is God, he doesn't need anything from us.
Right.
But there are so many things that he desires for us. And you living out your unique purpose, like I said, you will never be fulfilled until you get there. Yeah. That is something that God wants for you.
Yeah.
And so,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's worth overtime.
Overtime. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. If this was helpful for you, I mean, maybe if you're at a point where you're going, am I hearing from God? Is this the next right step? Maybe it is. It's taking that next step and seeing what happens. And with the eagerness and the anticipation, that as difficult as it may be and whatever it looks like, that it may be drawing you towards something that you can never even possibly imagine. Yeah. And so I hope this was helpful. If this was helpful for you, it's going to be helpful for someone else. And so make sure that you share this, you like this. If you're not following, do that. It just does an incredible amount to propel the Everyday Truths ministry forward. Thank you, John, for being here. So grateful for your insight and your wisdom. And we'll see you guys next time.